Confused about splines? Don't worry, I got you covered. We're making rivers, lakes, and roads for your project. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so to start out with we're going to start out in a third person project and 5.4. We're going to go up here to the Edit tab and we're going to go to Editor Preferences and we're going to set up our project to where as the Asset Editor open location is going to be the main window. So that way our tabs can open next to each other instead of on top of each other. Next, we're going to hit the Edit one more time. We're going to go to Plugins. Under Plugins, we're going to look for Water. And we want to add the Water plugin. And we want to hit Yes for that. And then at this point, that's when you're going to go ahead and you're going to restart your project. Once the project is restarted, you can close out these extra tabs here. Okay, now for the next step is we're going to go to our content drawer. And right here, we're going to select the Fab tab. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to grab some assets. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to display the assets on the screen. And then you can just go ahead and copy them and add them to your project, okay? All these assets that I will be adding will be medium is what is going to be the detail, okay? Okay, so once you've grabbed the Fine American Road material, the other two were actual 3D objects. What you want to do next is we can close this the Fab tab right here, and you can look right here in the lower right corner where it says 15 unsaved. What we're going to do is we're going to do a Control Shift and then S, and that will save all of our current project. So now you can see here it says it's all saved. Now, rather than using this particular level, we're going to create a new level by hitting Control and N. And then we're just going to use the open world and then select Create. Now, once this has been created, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and hit the Save button. And we're going to save our map. We're going to save it in the exact same space as our maps. So all I did was go into the third person folder, into the maps folder right next to the third person map. And we're just going to call this Rivers and Roads. And that's going to be the level for this one. And then we're just going to go ahead and hit save. Now, while we're here, we're going to go ahead and select on the outliner. And we're going to select the player start for this level. And we're going to hit the F button to focus on that. So we're right here. Because we're going to keep everything near the start just to make it easier for us, okay? So to start out with, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to add some lakes and some rivers, okay? Now, these are the first type of splines I want to show you, and they're only done, if you look up here in the left-hand corner, in the selection mode. So in order to get our rivers and our lakes, we're going to select adding the asset here, and we're just going to type in the word water. Now, to start out with, let's go ahead and we're going to grab a body water lake. Grab it, drag it out, like so. There we go. Now, splines are pretty simple. All you have to do is you can grab one spline by left-clicking on it, on one of the edges, and we can use the widget parts here to reduce or increase or decrease the size. Now, while we're here, I want to show you something really quick that's going to help you if you want to just, quickly adjust your lakes or your rivers, okay? So first thing we're going to do is we're going to go into the details panel right here. Let's drag this out a bit. Now what we're going to do here is we're going to, okay, so right here, we're selected here. We're going to select the whole actual lake here. And we want to look for something called terrain, which is right here. We're going to go to something called curve settings. And here's something quick I wanted to show you. Now, right here, you've got something called a channel depth, and you've got an actual ramp curve width, okay? So if we go right here to the depth, let me show you what that does real quick. So if we zoom in right here, we go into the level. As you can see here, that's where we got. We're right here at the depth. Now, if we go to channel depth and we add, let's say, instead of it being 500, 1,000, and hit enter, you're going to notice that the depth of the water has went even deeper. We can also go the other way. So we can go and say 100. And you can see it made it a lot more shallow. But let's go ahead and go back to the default of 500. Okay, now, so that's the first thing under terrain. The next thing is this ramp width. See how this ramp, it kind of like slopes up? Well, we can adjust that by making it even like just drop straight down. Now, the way we can do that is we can set this ramp width to, let's say something dramatic like instead of 2,000, let's make it 200 and hit enter. Notice that it gives a straight up drop off. So it's almost like a swimming pool rather than a traditional landmass. We could even go back up to 1,000, and that will also give you another type of ramp edge. Now, originally, when we went back, it was at, I believe, 2,000. And we can do it that way to where it's a gradual increase. But I'm just going to leave it at 1,000 just for the heck of it. Now, another thing with splines. Okay, okay, so now that we've got that figured out, now with splines, the other one we want to try is making a river. So we can sit here and we can go back up to our ad here and we can type in water. And instead of lake, we're going to grab a river, drag it out here. And of course, you can do the same thing with lakes and rivers as you did with the other one. So right here, I'm just going to hit the E button and I'm just going to rotate this a bit and then move this around a bit. And what I want to do in this instance, now you don't have to do this, but you can actually use the widgets and you can connect the lake and the river together to where they're together, like so, okay? So another thing with splines is you can highlight one of these splines, and you'll see here you've got these two extra points. Now with this point here, you can actually use this to adjust and move the actual spline of that particular around. It's almost like a rotation type of thing going on, okay? And you can do that for either side. And this will be for any spline that you're dealing with. The other thing you can do is you can grab the middle spline here, hold down the Alt button, and do a left click and drag and make another spline. Like so. And you can continue to do that. Alt, like so. And if you need to, you can use the different widgets and you can rotate or anything of that nature. You can also grab this part up here and drag it up. And if you'll notice that the land will actually adjust to the water. So that's how all the spline settings works inside of the selection mode. Okay, so yeah, and then I just selected this and that made the water appear. So, okay. Okay, so while we're here, and remember, we're right here at our start right here. What I want to do is I want to create an actual road, okay? So let me show you that real quick. What we're going to do is we're going to go to our content drawer. And, well, you know what? Actually, let's do this. So right here, we're going to grab a box. So we're going to go to our, add our shape here. We're going to add a cube. We're going to take this cube, right? Set it down right here. We're going to hit the end key, the END key, to drop it on the ground. We're going to use the actual R key to change this widget to make it a more flatter road type of piece, like so. Doesn't have to be perfect because right now we're just trying to figure out how we're going to make our road. So now right here, we're going to go back to our content drawer. We're going to go under the Fab tab, into Megascans, into Surfaces, into the American Road, and into Medium. We're going to choose the material instance. We're going to highlight that. We can reduce the panel there. And then we're going to use this arrow here with the actual box that we created selected. We're going to use this to populate a new material, which will be the road, like so. We're going to change this widget. We can hit the end key again to make it on the ground. And then the thickness and everything for the road should be fine. So that's what we have right here. Let's see, we can actually reduce this a little bit. We can go point, let's say 2.0. Okay. So that way the blue, it's a little bit thinner. Okay. Now, for this actor, while it's selected, we're going to need to go to our actor tab, go to merge, and this one actor, and we want to create this actor, right? So we're just going to call this Road 1. Okay. And we're going to leave it in the content folder so that way we know where we're at. So we can hit save. Now that we've got that, do a Control-Shift-S, and that'll save everything. Okay. Now that we have this in the level, we don't need it. We can go ahead and we can delete that. Okay. Control-Shift-S. Okay, so now we need to make our road splines. The way we're going to do that is we're going to go up to selection mode and we're going to go into our landscape mode, okay? Under landscape mode, under management, and then we're going to select splines. What we're going to do right here is we're going to just right click on one of these here and we're going to select create. And for this one here, where it says this layer 1, we're just going to go ahead and hit F2. We're going to highlight it, select F2, and we're just going to call this, road layer, okay? And then while this is highlighted, what we want to do here is we're going to hold down the control button, and while this is highlighted, do a left click here, and then another left click a little bit of ways away over here, like so. Then while this is highlighted, we want to go to segments up here in the corner in the details panel. And right under segments, we're going to do the add to the landscape here. And then we're going to open this up. Right here under mesh, we want to add the mesh that we just created, which is this road. Make sure it's highlighted. And we're just going to use this arrow here to populate that. So now that we have that, we've got the correct road. But as you can tell right here, it's not correct, right? It's moving sideways, right? And that's not what we want. So we know our start is right here. Okay, first let's go ahead and we're gonna take this, go back to the select mode, select this, hit W. Now, and we're gonna move this over here for a second because I want to show you something. So we can tell right now, I mean, even if we hit the E or whatever, the rotation, it's slightly off. So in order to fix that, because the spline is not going to work correctly, what we're going to need to do is right next to here, see how this is side by side? We're going to need to change it to where it's vertical. So what we can do is we can grab this road right here. We're going to set it like this. What we're going to do is we're going to grab this road, we're going to highlight it, and we're going to rotate it this way, okay? To where it's running in parallels to where it's like this. Because every time we dragged it out, it's facing the wrong way, okay? So this is important. Like I said, right here, you can just type in 90 to be exact, okay? And this should be fine. Now, what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to do the actor thing again, go to merge actors, and do this. And then we're going to name it the same thing as this, but instead of road 1, we're just gonna go ahead and call it road 2 so we're not confused, okay? And hit save, like so. Control Shift S. Now we can go ahead, we can delete this other road here, and we can even delete road 2 here. Now we're gonna go back into our selection, go to landscape, back to highlighting our road layer. And what we wanna do is we're gonna hold down Control and then do the same thing like we did before. We're gonna select segment. We're going to create the spline once again, and we're going to select, this time, we're selecting road 2. And then we're going to populate it with the arrow here. Now you can see that we should be fine. Now the road's the right way and everything. Now the road's a little bit wider than what we need. So what we can do is we can go to control points, and under where it says half width, we're gonna reduce that to, like, let's say 400. Okay, and hit enter. And that'll make the road more of what you want. Now, while we're here, since we've got 66 unsaved, let's just go ahead and do a Control Shift S. Okay, so now while you're here, now that we have our road, we can actually manipulate it. So we select our widget here, and like if the widget doesn't show up, just select one of these points and hit either W, E, or R, or W or E, and it should show up. So now with that, you're gonna hold down the Alt key, and then you're going to drag, which is gonna create another widget here. So, and we can continue to do that until we've created our road. And we can, like I said, we can hold down the Alt key, make more points, and then we can even like hit the E key, and we can rotate it and grab the point here, hit W, and just, nice and neatly move things around. Hold down the Alt key, like so. And that's how you would make your roads, okay? Now, while we're here, we're gonna make 2 more, okay? So we're gonna go right back to our road layer here. We're gonna right click on it. We're gonna do a create. And what we wanna create here, we're gonna do F2 like before. After we click it, highlight it, F2, we're gonna do a railway, okay? Railway layer. And hit enter. And then while the railway layer is highlighted, what we're going to do, since we've made our railway, we're going to hold down the control button. We're going to hit the left click right here, and then a left click here, and that's going to give us a new spline. And we're going to do the same thing like we did before, except this time we're going to go to segments, okay? And we're going to add another spline mesh. And for this spline mesh, we're going to type in railway, which should be this one right here, like so. Now, we don't want our railway this big, so what we're gonna do is go back to our control points, go to the half part, and we're gonna reduce this one to about, let's say, 200. There we go. That should be a fairly decent size that we can play with. And it's the same thing like we did with the other one. I mean, we can sit up here, and we can select one of these spline points right here. Hit the W key if you want to populate the widget. Hold down the Alt key and just drag, like so. And then we can also have our railway. Hey, sorry about the quick pause. I just wanted to show you, even though we're working on splines, later in the video, I'm going to show you how to actually make sure that your character can run through the collisions, like this. If you're enjoying the content, subscribe. If you like the content, then like the content. All right, back to the video. Okay, so now that we have that, let's go ahead. We're going to create another spline. So let's go ahead and select this, right click, do a create, and we're going to do the same thing like we did before, hit F2. And we're going to call this winter road layer. Okay. And we can click away from our track right here, highlight our winter road right here. And we're going to do the same thing like we did with the other two roads, but I think I'm going to put this one over here just because our start's right here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a control here, or control left click. Let's try that again. So let's highlight this here, control and left click. And then we're going to do a control left click over here. And same thing. We're going to go to segment. We're going to add our spline again. And right here, we're going to add winter road. Maybe it's snow road. I'm not sure exactly. Snow road. Yeah, I think it's snow road. So we select that. Yep. And that's it. So we selected our snow road. And again, this one is huge. So we're going to reduce that because we know how by going to the control points. And we're going to reduce this one to, let's say 400. Oh, sorry, that was the wrong one. That was the fall off. We're going to do, that's a different thing, but we're going to do the half width again and do 400 again. And like so. Actually, I'm going to make it a little bit smaller, 300. Yeah, that should be pretty good. And I'm just going to extend this out a bit. So like I said, just select one of your points here, hit W, hold down Alt, and then just drag. And then you should be able to hold down Alt and keep dragging and keep making some more and more things right here. Now, okay, so now that we've got all of our different roads and tracks and our rivers, I want to move on and I want to show you the collision. Now, the way I'm going to do that is we're going to hit the play button here. And I want you to see something here, okay? Actually, let me escape out of that. Let's go back to the select mode. And let's just go ahead and hit play again. As you can see right here, let's see. We can walk on the road. This looks right. You see how you can walk on the road? It makes sense. If you step off, you can see the road right there. Now, when you go over here, this looks pretty good too, okay? But we can actually fine tune this a little bit better, and I'm going to show you 3 different collision settings. Now for this, we're kind of stuck. It's okay, but it's not quite right. But it's pretty good. Now, if we go over here to our lake, you're going to notice that we can't go inside the water. We're performing a miracle. We're walking on the water like Jesus, basically, okay? Yeah, and we don't want that. So I'm going to show you how to set different collisions for each one of these, okay? Let's go ahead and escape out of that. All right, so to start out with, let's go with our lake. We're going to select the lake, okay? We're going to make sure we're in the details, and we're going to go under the collision settings in the lake, and we're going to go to the preset. Scroll down here, and all we need to do is under the overlap, let's go ahead and let the pond overlap that. And while we're at it, let's go ahead and do that for the river as well, so that way we're not walking on the river's water. So let me see. So we got that. Okay, that was the river actually. Now this is the lake. And we're going to back to the collision. I think you can just hit physics. Yeah, and that'll get you closer to where you need to be. Now, right here, we're going to select the same thing. We're going to use the pawn overlap, okay? And we're going to hit save. Now, our other meshes here, what we want to do is, I want to show you what we're doing with these. Okay, so go to your content drawer. Go to Fab. Well, actually, let's go back one. Let's take a look at our road 2. This is the one we're using for our spline here. Right here. So what we can do is we can look at the collision by hitting the show right here. And we're just going to show the simple collision right here. See that? Now, I think that's pretty good. Like, you don't want to remove the collision off this because you're going to walk through the mesh. This is perfect. So I just wanted to show you that first. Now, we can close that out, and let's look at another one of our collisions under the Fab folder, under the Megascans, under the 3D assets, and we're going to look at our modular snow road. double click, go into the medium. Right here under the static mesh, we're gonna double click that, right? Now, right here, we're gonna do the same thing we did before. We're gonna select show, and we're gonna show the simple collision. Now, if you look right here, you see the way this collision's set up, you're going to walk up and over and into it, but it's not quite right. Now, for a mesh like this, if I were gonna do it, this is what I would do. I would go to collision, and I would remove this collision. Because one, it's gonna save on performance because you don't have this collision, and then two, you can walk through the snowy part, and this other part will be supported by the ground. And we'll see that in a minute. So let's go ahead and hit save, because all we did for this one was remove the collision. Next, let's go ahead and look at our rail track collision. Okay, so we're gonna go back to our 3D. Okay, I can go back to the fab folder just to show you. Content folder, fab, Metascans 3D, and we're gonna select our railway and medium. Now right here, we're gonna double click on this, and right here, we're gonna do the same thing like we did before. We're gonna show the simple collision. And as you can tell, it's not exactly right. I mean, I think we can look at the complex collision too, but the complex collision for a railway would make more sense because you want to be able to step over each one of these tracks. So let's go ahead. We're gonna uncheck the complex collision, and we can leave the simple collision there for now. And what we wanna do is, we're gonna go to collision, and we're gonna remove collisions, okay? So we're deleting that collision. But while we're here, we're going to change this collision. So if we go over here into the details panel, we're gonna scroll down until we get to our collision settings, which is right here. Under the presets, right here, where it says collision complexity, we're gonna select this. We're gonna use complex collision as simple. Look at that. That's what it does. Now, granted, this is gonna add more performance issues, but this is what makes sense for this particular collision, for this particular asset. So now if we hit save and we close this out and we wanna look at all of our collisions, we can just go ahead and hit the play button. Okay, so I wanna go to the snow road here, but right here, you can see that the collision for some reason is not working quite the way I wanted. You should be able to walk through this part, but I'm gonna show you how I'm gonna fix that by resizing the road. So I'm gonna hit the escape button. I'm gonna back out here a little bit. I'm gonna go to the selection mode, select landscape, and then from that point, I'm going to select one of the splines. In the details panel, I'm going to select update all splines. Then I'm going to select control points. Then instead of it being 300, I'm gonna try making it 500 and hit enter, which is gonna make the road slightly bigger. From that point, I can go ahead and hit save, and then I'm going to hit the play button. And then right here, you can see we can walk through the mesh. See, now it looks like we're inside the snow. So for this one, there's no collision. For the actual road here, this one, there is a collision, just a simple box collision. And then this one's the complex one, which allows us to have the bumping. And then finally, to sum things up, we're gonna go over here to the lake, and now we're in the water, okay? Because we've removed the collision for the pond. The pond can overlap it, including inside of the river. Everything's set. Okay, so I hope this video was helpful, and I'm gonna pop up another video on the screen here, which will be related to this video, and I wanna say thank you for watching. See you in the next one.